The most recent Tarkov patch brought us one of the most unexpected and kind of exciting weapons we've seen in a while. The Auto Assault 12 Gen 2 shotgun is something that's lived in the lore of video gamers for many years. We've seen it in many video games like Call of Duty and Battlefield, and everybody's OG favorite, Russian, had some pretty cool videos with it as well. So it goes to say that the AA-12 is pretty well known by the community. So getting our hands in it in Tarkov meant not only do you get the AA-12, we're going to get a host of attachments, probably more down the road, and a little bit of complexity that I wanted to do a video on and explain to you guys. This way you're not confused about what's in front of you, what the difference between all the different things are, and how to get the most out of using it. So we're going to use this video, we're going to dive into the parts, we're going to talk a little bit about its use cases, what its ups and downs are. That way you know the most about it and you can use it when you want to have some fun. So let's not waste any more time, get right into the video. Okay, so it's pretty typical when we get new weapons in BSG, we don't get a lot of parts with them. But let's talk about how you get them first. As of patch, what are we on, 15.5, they're not buyable on the fleet. You can only get them from Skier or occasionally from tasks. Now, I'm sure they're going to show up in World and Mark Circles and weapon crates and stuff like that, but I have yet to find one myself. Now, to start off with the Gen 1, the AA-12 Gen 1, which is, we'll get into why it is first, but that one you have to get through doing the task Irresistible. This one is after Flint, a skier task, which basically means you have to be level 35 and have a bunch of other tasks done. It goes down the setup task line, so you have to do setup, chumming, informed means armed, and then you get Flint, and then you get the Irresistible. This task is pretty straightforward. It's nothing complicated to it. You have to get into the 21WS container, which is a container on interchange. It is outside the map in the parking lot on the south, pretty much the south side of the map. Power does have to be turned on, but if it's on, quick swipe of the key, you go inside, and on the floor there is a weapon crate. It looks just like the weapon crate you have in your stash, one of these right here. It looks just like this. You pick it up, you extract with it, you turn it into Skier, boom, you're done. You can now buy the AA-12, at least the Gen 1 version of it, which is, the big deal about that is simply you can't put optics on it. You just have the iron sights. It also costs about 118,000, so it's super expensive. On top of that, this the AA-12, both the Gen 1 and 2, and we'll talk about the 2 in a second, are only available on loyalty level 4 Skier. Now, the Gen 4 requires the task Dangerous Props. This one's pretty simple. Kill any target with the AA-12, 20 of them, any map. So you PMC scavs. I did this during the zombie event, so it was actually pretty straightforward to get done in a single raid. And that's it. Easy task. And you get the AA-12 barter. Now, this barter is pretty pricey, especially right now. It's these are like 40, 50K. Oh, they're 70K. And you got to have 5 of those. Weapon parts are like 30, 40K. And then military circuit boards, 30K. That's pushing the price of this, well north of like 400,000, even pushing 500,000. And what it gives you essentially is just the ability to mount a red dot on top of the weapon. That's pretty much the only major difference between these two guns. So that's that. That is the difference between the AA-12 and the Gen 1 and the Gen 2, and that is how you get them. The only other little tidbit out there I want to mention is there is this additional stock that's it's got the Labs engraved logo on it. It doesn't show up anywhere. It obviously shows up in the world because I've been seeing these being sold. So people are finding them somewhere, unless they're ripping them off the one that they get from a task with the zombie event and sell them then, which that might be the case. But there is no stat difference between the 3 different stocks. This one is just black and says AA-12. This one is this one is the Labs one. And then there's one more that's tan. This one right here that also just says AA-12 on it. So aside from that, let's get into some more important details. You have 2 mags options with this, the 8-round box mag and then a 20-round drum mag. The 8-round box mag's cheap. You can get it right off Skier. It's also super cheap on the flea market. Aside from that, the 20-rounder is not available on traders anywhere, at least as of making this video. If you're watching this down the road, it might be worthwhile and go and seeing if there's a barter in here or something else like that, or maybe it gets unlocked in a task in another wipe. But as of right now, you can only find these in raid and sell them. So if you do find them, sell them, because as you can see, they're worth quite a bit of money. After that, we get into the barrels. There's 4 barrel types, but they really fall into 2 categories, short and long. But each of those categories has a threaded version. So the 330 millimeters not threaded. The 342 is threaded, but the only thing you can put on it right now is this thread protector. That goes on right there. It's just an additional 1 ergo. It doesn't really do much of anything else. But what this does tell me is that they are planning on eventually putting suppressors that can attach to this, or maybe other weapon attachments. Whether that ends up being the same stuff that goes on the Saiga or not, I don't know. But this tells me that they are planning on putting more attachments to this. Now, the longer barrels, you got the 417 and the 457. The 457 is just a clean barrel. It's got a mount, but we'll talk that in a sec. The 417 has threads on it, but the only thing that can go on there is this AA-12 gauge choke. Now, anybody who's a real life shotgun person knows chokes tend to affect the patterns of your pellets. That is not the case with this this choke. It doesn't do nothing. I've shot a couple 100 rounds, both with and without, and compared the spreads. There's no difference between them. So really all the choke is doing is it's giving you some extra stats, some recoil, knocks some ergo off, helps with heating, cooling, durability, burn, all that kind of crap. So when it comes to the attachments, really the only 2 options in my mind are these 2 with barrels. If you want a little bit more ergo or a little more recoil reduction, these are your 2 choices. Wouldn't even really pay much attention to those, even though they don't matter all that much. The stats with the recoil and ergo are not impactful to how the AA-12 really operates or feels. Now, last, let's get into the only way you can put flashlights and lasers on there, and that is this universal shotgun barrel mount. I feel like this is the most Russian freaking backwoods thing that somebody would ever invent, because basically it just straps right onto the barrel. You can see right here, it just bolts onto the barrel. But interestingly enough, it provides another way to attach different parts. So the regular flashlights, for example, this Ultrafire, you don't need a special mount. It'll go right into that like that, and you have a flashlight. Pretty bright one too, that works without having to have a combo or anything like that, which is about the only time that I've ever found myself using the blue laser, because you can put a blue laser right there. I like to put mine on the bottom, and that's how I've been running most of my shotguns. However, it does give you the options to put a lot of flashlights on here, technically 4. Pretty much every tactical device is going to go on top of this thing and then go to the shotgun, and then you got a bunch of fancy junk hanging off the end of your barrel if you want. But that's it. That's all we have for attachments. There's nothing else more complex with the build. You can just straight barter this and run with it if you want, not really do anything else to it. So let's get talking a little bit about the practicality of this. Yes, it is a fully automatic shotgun, and both the Gen 1 and Gen 2 have the same fire rate. They can fire at 330 rounds per minute. This is very slow, and you will notice this shooting it that, yeah, it's automatic, but it kind of, instead of ripping rounds out of there, it feels like it kind of chugs, and chugs so much that even the Saiga itself can fire you can fire a Saiga much more quickly than you can the AA-12 in full auto. And this is kind of why I say the Gen 2 isn't all that useful. It's a cool gun, it's interesting, it's something new, it's kind of a toy. It doesn't really have much of a place in Tarkov that it's going to beat out other weapons, at least not yet. For one, it costs a lot. This whole Saiga build together right here, for the most part, you're going to spend about 287,000, and that's with 12. These drum mags are not that expensive right now, so we'll just get rid of that. So 156,000, including buying the weapon and a suppressor and attachments, and pretty much building it as nice. You can build a little bit nicer, but as nice as I like to build it, 156, say 160,000. You're going to spend 120 just building or buying the AA-12 by itself, and it's not as good. Plus, the Saiga can be suppressed if you want it to be. It's got a couple of different choke options. The 10-round mags versus the 8-round mags. You can also have 5-round mags with the Saiga. The drum is much more accessible. Yes, it's expensive right now, but that's just because of the zombie event. This thing's normally around 40, 50K, and the barter for it is no more than 80K, but that's outside of the events. It's also a lot lighter. This Saiga with 20 rounds in it and a suppressor is just barely more heavy. Never mind, it's lighter. It's lighter than the AA-12 is with a 20 round in there, with hardly any other accessories. Even if I pull off the goober freaking attachments we have on the front of it, it's still lighter. The Saiga with the suppressor and everything else on it is still lighter than the AA-12. So it sounds like I'm just dogging on the AA-12, which I kind of am, but it does have some fun to it. The Gen 1 sucks to shoot. The iron sights are miserable. They do kind of work, but they're so high. There's so much height over bore, and you can't see really well, and the recoil's obnoxious. You just pretty much hip fire, point fire the thing the whole time anyways. On top of that, the audio of this is really fun. It's shooting that you can always tell the AA-12 just by the cadence of the shooting, if where it's at, and it's like, oh yeah, there's an AA-12. So it does sound pretty cool. It does sound pretty meaty. They did a really good job of the audio on that. But going to a red dot sight, you have a little bit more practicality with it. It is still usable. It is still a shotgun. It's just really expensive. If you're not worried about money, give it a whirl. Have some fun with it. A couple of raids. It will chew people up. The auto fire is more sustainable than the quick fire. And the one thing the AA-12 does have, it can do that the Saiga cannot, is it is an open bolt functioning weapon. And in Tarkov, what that almost always means is that it cannot jam. So while a Saiga with a suppressor, if you dump a 20 round mag of pretty much any ammo, it's going to jam before you get to the end of the mag. And if not, it's going to jam in the very next mag you put in there. You got to wait. You have all sorts of issues, especially when it's suppressed. You don't have that with the AA-12. You can bring a bunch of drum mags. You can blow through as many 8-rounders as you want. It's never going to jam on you, at least in the current setup of the way the game works. But that's pretty much it. That's the whole video on the AA-12. I know there wasn't a lot there, but it will save you some time and you won't have to monkey around with this stuff just to have I feel like let down. Pretty much just grab the gun and run with it till we get some more attachments or some more meaning to these threaded barrels and stuff like that. But we'll wrap it up there. As always, I thank you guys for watching and consuming my content. Wouldn't be here without you. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Lets YouTube know you like my content so it can show it to you when it comes out. We'll do a few more of these for the SCAR and the new parts there, as well as the AUG and the G36. But that's all I got. Thank you guys again for watching. Wish you the best of luck in your raids. We'll see you in Tarkov.